Report 1.6 will show the promotions of a selected category by both retailers and suppliers. So for this report, to an extent, we can actually customize the retailers and the suppliers that we'd like to display. And in order to do that, we have to go to the selection first. So the first selection we can make is for the market. So under market, if you are currently subscribed to East Malaysia data, you'll also be able to see Sabah and Sarawak. However, if you're only subscribed to West Malaysia data, then this is the only option you'll be able to see. Under date range, please keep in mind that you're not able to choose more than 24 months or 2 years of data. If you do end up accidentally choosing more than 2 years of data, this error message will appear, and you won't be able to generate the report until you've redone the selection here. So for now, we'll stick to the first quarter of 2020 for our report. Under sources, you'll see all sources and all regional data. So all sources refers to the national promotions such as the Giant mailers or the Tesco mailers, while the regional data here refers to promotions that are not applicable to every single store of a certain retailer. For example, for Billion mailers, you can see that in the last page, they actually list out for you all the Billion stores where the promotions in the mailer are applicable at. Another example would be a store opening promotion. So for a new store opening promotion, those promotions are usually only applicable to that particular store. So those type of promotions are the ones that we consider regional promotions. So for now, we'll just look into mailer and newspaper promotions first. Next is promo type. For promo type, there's normal promotion, range promotion, and buy X free Y. Normal promotion is any advertised feature with a product description and a price. Range promotion is usually for multiple products, so it can be for an entire category or an entire brand. And instead of one price point, you'll either get a percentage discount or a price range. And lastly is buy X free Y. So this is something that we're only tracking in in-store promotions in convenience stores and petromats. So this type of promotion are ones that do not have a price point provided. So what the feature will say is that if you purchase product X, you'll get product Y for free. So for now, we'll be looking into normal promotion and range promotion first. Next is the rank. So under rank, you'll have the option to choose top 5, top 10, or 25. Now, as per the title, this report shows the promotions by retailer and by supplier. So this rank here is actually referring to the ranking for the supplier instead of the retailer. So you can choose to show the top 5 supplier, top 10 supplier, or top 25 supplier, or you can even choose to display all the suppliers. However, the more suppliers you display, the more packed your table, your charts will be later on. So do keep that in mind. But for now, we'll just stick to top 5 retailer first. Sorry, top 5 supplier first. Next is retailers. So for this one, you notice that there is a drop down for each of these channels. So CVS is convenience stores and petromats. If you click on the drop down, you'll be able to see all the retailers that we're tracking under CVS itself. A similar thing can be seen for hypermarket, pharmacy, and supermarket. Now, of course, you can choose to go through each of these retailers and choose the retailers that you'd like to display later on. But for now, I'll just click on hyper and super first. And we can make changes to this selection later on after we've seen the first report generated. And lastly is the categories. So once you click on it, the first thing you'll see is the departments. And if you click on the departments drop down, you'll see all the categories you're subscribed to under that department. So you can choose to click on all the drop downs to figure out what is the category you'd like to generate the report for. Otherwise, you can also type out the category you'd like to see. So for this one, we'll be looking into milk powder. However, milk powder is actually comprised of several subcategories itself. So there's adult milk, full cream milk, growing up milk mass, growing up milk premium, and others milk. But for this example, we'll just be looking into Gum S and Gum Premium first. The save function here allows you to save the selection you've made so far. So the next time you come into this report, all these selections will be already made for you, so you don't have to click on everything all over again. And if you actually are not quite happy with this selection, click on reset and it will clear off the selection and you can redo everything again to your liking. But since we're already okay with this, I'll just click on update. Please keep in mind that the time it takes to generate the report depends heavily on your own internet speed as well as the amount of data that you're trying to generate. So the more data you select, the longer time it takes. Okay, so we'll just minimize this first so you can see the chart better. So the first chart here displays the promotion features by suppliers, by retailers. So you can see that this for the suppliers, only the top 5 are listed here. So Abbott, Fonterra, Nestle, Reckitt Benckiser, and Dutch Lady. The rest are listed under others. And since we chose hyper and super, every single retailer under hypermarket and supermarket in MailerTrack is listed here. So at the top of the chart here, you'll see this bar. So this bar is actually the slider. You can actually use it to sort of zoom into the chart. So what I mean by that is you just need to move this over and it will move the chart for you. So instead of seeing all the retailers all at once, you only see maybe a few that you selected here. It also works the other way. So if you don't want to see Aeon Big, then you just move the slider here and just focus on these few retailers. So as I mentioned, since we've chosen all the retailers under Hyper Super, this is looking actually a bit cluttered. So we can actually redo our selection here. And just maybe look into the top Hyper and Super first. So let's say Aeon Big. You can scroll one by one to look for it. Otherwise, you can also just type it in. So for example, we have Aeon Big, Giant, Mydin, Tesco, and Aeon. And click on update again. Okay, so now you can see everything a bit more clearly. So for this chart, what it shows is the share of promotions at each retailer in the first quarter of 2020, which is our selected time period, versus year ago, which is the first quarter of 2019. So from here, you can see how the share of promotions for each of the top suppliers have changed in these retailers. So a clear example on that would be Aeon. So in Aeon, in 2019 first quarter, Abbott had about 30% of the promotions. But then if you see in the first quarter 2020, their share of promotions have actually decreased by half to only about 14%. Meanwhile, you can see at retailers such as Tesco, their promotions here haven't actually changed that much. But you can see that the promotions for Reckitt Benckiser and Fonterra both have declined by quite a lot. And due to the decline in number of promotions, despite promoting roughly the same as they did last year, the share of promotions for Abbott in Tesco mailer and newspaper have actually increased. So from here you can compare for yourself. In the first quarter of 2020 versus a year ago, has the share of promotions for the key suppliers changed in all these retailers? And from there, you can also compare it back to the sales data if you have them and see if the change in the share of promotions have affected the sales contribution in any way. The next chart we'll be looking at is the promotion features by retailers, by suppliers. Slightly different from the chart above, this chart shows for the top suppliers how their promotions are broken down at different retailers. So for example, we can look into Fonterra. So in Fonterra, you can see that in 2019, their largest share of promotions was spotted at Tesco, followed by Giant, and then Aeon Big, and minimal promotions at Mydin and Aeon. However, in 2020, you can see that their share of promotions are increasing by quite a bit at both Giant and Aeon Big. And Tesco, where they were promoted the most a year ago, the promotions have actually reduced to only about a third of what they promoted. So you can see that there's been a shift in Fonterra's focus in promotions. They're promoting less in Tesco and instead is focusing more on Giant and Aeon Big. And you can use this to compare it against yourself. So, for example, since we're Dutch Lady, our promotion features at each of these retailers have remained largely the same a year ago and now. But we can see that for Fonterra, they are no longer focusing all that much in Tesco promotions and instead focusing on Giant and Aeon Big. So we can use this and compare back to our sales data. Did them reducing their promotions at Tesco affect their sales there, and did it affect our sales there? Which means that since less promotions are being done for Fonterra, are their sales there reduced as well? And if their sales have reduced, did any of the other key suppliers benefit from this? Meaning, did any of the shoppers switch from Fonterra to perhaps a different supplier? The following two charts show the breakdown of the features in each of the retailers by the suppliers for the selected time period. So the first one you see here is for the first quarter 2020, and the one at the bottom here is for the first quarter 2019. The chart here calculates the growth in promotions for you. So from here you can see that Tesco generally has seen a reduction in promotions for all key suppliers except for Abbott. And a similar thing can also be said for Mydin. The only key supplier that seems to be growing in Mydin is Reckitt Benckiser. And if you go to the top here, you can see that in 2019, Reckitt Benckiser in Mydin had 3 features. But in 2020, they actually increased it by a bit to 5 features. And if you notice, if you hover your cursor over these blue numbers, it actually changes into a hand cursor. So what this means is you can actually click on it to find out more about that promotion. From here, if I click on the number 3, we'll be able to see that in 2019 first quarter, Reckitt Benckiser was promoting the Sustagen milk powder. And in 2020, they're also promoting Enfagrow there. So not just the supplier itself, you can also look further into it and see if there's a change in brand focus in the promotions as well. So this is one of the ways that you can use this report to figure out how the trend in promotions are like by the key suppliers in the key retailers. And aside from that, you can also use this to see how your promotions are being allocated. So what I mean by this is the fact that you have of all your promotions in these selected retailers, since you've had roughly 30% of your promotions at Giant Hyper, does that reflect in your sales? Is Giant bringing back 30% of the sales contribution from among these starved retailers? You can also use this report to see how you should be allocating your promotions across these different retailers. So what I mean by that is, since, for example, Giant is holding 30% of your promotions, are they actually bringing back 30% of sales among these retailers? And if they're not, then we can look into that. Perhaps maybe we're over promoting there, and consider that maybe we want to allocate that budget to somewhere else. And instead of just promoting in Giant Mailer and Giant Newspaper, maybe there are other ways to use our budget to contribute to the sales more.